now tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
People talking, what are they talking about? This world's gone crazy, and I'm trying to find a way out. Nobody knows where we're going, or if we're going at all. Nobody cares if we stand, if we have nowhere to fall. It's a singing symphony, playing as the ship goes down. It's a porcelain epiphany, breaking if it hits the ground. I gotta find a way out.
Good morning, good folks. How are you guys? What a weekend. What a weekend. Let us delve right into it. So some of you have noticed that we're having a little bit of website issue. I think I explained to you last week that we were being forced to migrate because of our good Canadian friends, Dr. Pascal, trying to force CMR to take down a story. And essentially, because we refused to do it, he contacted our hosting company, and their position is they don't care what the nature of the complaint is, just take it down. And we said, nope. So as a result of that, we've had to move hosting companies. And unfortunately, these are some of the growing pains when you do that, is that, you have glitches in the system, you have migration issues, you have propagation issues. So my apologies for the glitches that we're having outside of our control, but still, I know that it is super, super frustrating. I'm hopeful that we can get it resolved ASAP. If not, we will move to another hosting company. It's as simple as that. We will keep moving till we find one that is as robust as the last one. And to be quite honest, we were very, very hopeful that, this company who comes highly recommended. I mean, you go and you check out, who offers the best such services, and you get feedback, but it's one of those things that you don't know till you try. And there's some sort of issue that's going on. Our site does get a lot of traffic, and it's not just a normal site. We try to convey that before we even make a decision to move servers. We speak to their team. Of course, they all want to claim they're the best, to say, listen, we get a lot of site traffic, so we got to make sure that you guys can handle it. I don't think that that's what's going on here. There seems to be some sort of file that's causing an issue, or not necessarily a single file, but a process that's causing an issue, and they can't figure it out. So I've given them until today, essentially, folks, to get it together, because we really don't have time for issues. And if somebody else can provide the same service with no issues, then we just move. It's as simple as that, right? So, of course, all of this costs money. Believe me, it's not quite so easy. Good morning to Marshall. Good morning, Barbara. I do want to talk about a few interesting events over the weekend. Good morning to Irvelyn. Good morning, Alice. Hello, Miss Morna. Olivia is here. So I was up until after 2:00 in the morning trying to deal with this situation. And you know what is most annoying about tech people? Is when you get someone on the phone who's telling you, oh, it's this issue, it's a propagation issue. And I know 1,000% it's not a propagation issue. And they're trying to tell me, no, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's a propagation issue. I'm like, listen, I've been at the rodeo for a minute, so I know what a propagation issue is, and I know how to check to see if it's a propagation issue. And I'm telling you, it's not a propagation issue. But it's frustration of having tech support halfway around the world. Sometimes they don't always speak English. Sometimes they're not always as qualified because they're paying them $6 an hour to provide customer support. So they're more or less just there to answer the phone and frustrate you. And I tell you what, I don't believe in paying to be frustrated. I'm not going to pay somebody else to frustrate me. I'm like, irks, I'm out of here. Good morning, Arliss. Good morning, Beulah. Beautiful Donna's here. Louis from Detroit says, happy Monday, everyone. Tea time. Well, I got mine piping hot. I don't know about anybody else, but it is, it smells divine. And it's still seeping. So this is chamomile, honey, and I don't even know what else is in this one, but it is delicious. Good morning to Joe, Siobhan, Anne. Thank you guys so much. Vincent is here. Napoleon, Lizette, Miss Anne-Marie, Nikki. Nikki, I've not seen you in a minute. Where have you been? So we're going to talk about a few things here. In terms of what happened over the weekend. So first of all, we've got a few guests coming up this morning. So let me preface our comments by saying as soon as they come on at their allotted time, we'll switch over to them. On Friday, I went to, good morning, Darlene and Anthony. Sue is here, Cecil, Judy Faye. Curtis, good morning to you, my dear. Curtis says he's going to check out Crosstalk. Curtis, you are such a joker. Good morning, Sanya, and good morning, Louie. Now, Curtis, I know for a fact that you are done with Cayman Crosstalk. I might not know much else, but I do know that you, my friend, will not be going back over there. It would be a cold day on Earth, not even in hell, but a cold day on Earth for you to make that jump back over. I think Curtis has, there's only 5 people watching them right now. Curtis has boycotted Cayman Crosstalk like many of you, and it's an unfortunate situation, but hey, what can I say? So listen, on Friday, I went to the sports day at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex, and I was very, very pleased to see so many of our young people participating in the events. It was interscholastic. I initially had said interprimary, but it's actually interscholastic sports day. And what that means is it's the different schools. So they had private schools, government schools, you know. So it was quite a good event. I live streamed a portion of it so you could see what your young people were up to. They were racing all different distances, long distances, short distances. You know, they had the discus throwing, the long jump, the pole. You know, they were doing the most. So congratulations to those young folks who were focused on their athleticism. Very, very well done. And then we had some truant young individuals who were busy doing other things. So the one thing that became very, very obvious to me. Oh, good morning, Oscar. Man, I got some people tuned in today. You guys come looking for some good news this morning, so I better give it to you. I've not seen some of you guys in a minute. So there were some young people and some adults who were not where they were supposed to be. So I don't know if you guys remember, if you go back to the live feed, I said I was on the one stand first. You know, when you go to Truman Bodden, there's a stand that's on the TE Macfield stand, which is on the left. And then on the right is the, what is it? Something Mackey stand. That one is on the right. So when I went over to the one on the right, I was surprised that the volume of people on that side versus the TE Macfield. And I didn't initially understand that on the Mackey side, those were actually the performers, the athletes themselves. So that was quite interesting. So I thought, right, this stand is really full. And then once I started walking through the stand, I was talking to quite a few of the young folks, and they were saying, you know, how they had performed. I saw a couple kids from private school who, you know CMR. So there's a young man there who he does a lot of Leo. He does Leo Schilling. He's a long distance runner. And so he was saying that he did the 3,000, I think, which is like 7.5 laps or whatever. And he came in second. So big shout out to Leo and all of the young people who performed. So not long after it came out of that stand, I actually stopped filming. Almost right away as we stopped filming, a fight broke out up at the top of the stand, like the top quadrant, the top corner, right? And I thought to myself, OMG, what on earth are these young people doing? Like, seriously? It's a sporting event. One day, you cannot show up, young Caymanians, and behave yourselves. Ugh, such a shame, right? I mean, come on. No. I'm like, what are these kids thinking? Anyway, sure enough, they're coming with their baddest behavior. And listen, not even 2 seconds before that, MP for Georgetown Central, Kenneth Bryan was there. And Kenneth says, oh my God, what are these kids doing? So he takes off immediately to the stand, whoop, up the stand, trying to break these kids apart, right? And I'm going to show you guys the fight video because I'm aware that the article that has it, of course, you can't get to the website this morning. So a lot of you have not been able to see the full event. So I'm going to show that to you here in a second. Folks, you have got to get your young people under control. That is the bottom line. I don't care how you slice this. Our young people need help, and they need it fast. Our educational system is in the toilets. So they're not coming out as well-rounded as they should be. They're not coming out with the marks that they should have, the vast majority of them I'm talking about, in order to then go and get into a proper university, get the grades that they need, and all these other things in order to do well in the real world. And if you guys don't get that education is tied into opportunities, and opportunities are tied into social welfare, and social welfare is tied into mental health, and mental health is tied into healthcare, and healthcare is tied into the cost of living, and all of these other things. We are in a world of trouble, folks. We need to get it together. And this is a stark warning that we are literally losing generations of young people. So, it was disappointing. So MP Kenneth Bryan ran up there to try to stop it. I think somehow they were able to get these kids separated. But you would have thought that that was the end of it. So I'm down there and I'm listening to these young people and I'm hearing them talk. And of course, they all know me and they all know Mall Road. So some of them running when they see Mall Road come like they're like criminals already. And I'm like, you don't have to run from Mall Road. Like, honestly, if you're not a criminal and you're not up to some shady business, you know, Mall Road is cool with you, young folks. And some of them love it. They know the real score. So they were talking to me off camera and I'm like, what is this all about? Why aren't you guys behaving? Tell me, how hard could it possibly be? Anyway, apparently it's kind of hard for some. So these young girls were saying to me, oh, you know, these two guys, they're always fighting. Like 1 minute they're fighting, next minute they're BFFs. Nobody can figure out what the beef is. I'm like, Lord, seriously? So the young people, you know, carrying on with the most ridiculous behavior. And I said, well, what's the fight all about? What do you think? Girls. And I said, a girl that by next week is going to forget both of you and move on to boy number 2. Now, over in that side of the field, of the stadium, there was an unmanned and an unlocked gate. Now, listen, nobody is to blame for this part of the fiasco but security. So security was hired to do a job. Police were on site, and somehow they were just on one side, which they're like, okay, this is the entrance, but that's not the only entrance you should cover just because that's like the designated entrance, right? So they've got people over there, one guy standing up. When I show up, I'm like, okay, we're media. We've actually been invited to the event. He had to call a police officer over to confirm that we were able to come in. Meanwhile, while you're just watching media and the legit people who are going to come through the correct fence, all the way on the other side of the complex is an unlocked gate that somebody has now opened. Cars are coming into the complex, parking behind the Mackey, whatever it's called, stadium, right? The bleachers. Girls getting in these cars with what looks like big, hard seed men that can at least drive, right? There were allegations of girls getting up on the hoods of cars, dancing and carrying on and shaking their behinds and all sorts of behavior that is most unbecoming of a young lady. And that's where most of the young people are congregating for a reason. Now, this is when adults don't have no sense. Because as you recall, the second I went over on that side, you saw the kids go back to the live video, folks. You saw those children spread like I don't know why. You know why they were spreading? They're like, oh, Malrood. Yes, because I was live streaming and they don't know what that live stream was going to catch. And who was going to be seen doing what? So if you go back, you see that immediately they started to disperse and there was a reason why they were doing that, folks. Parents, wise up. Your kids are smarter than you right now. Okay? So they started to disperse because honestly, they knew that they were up to no good. So that should have also been obvious to the authorities that there's a reason why over on that side, all the kids are congregating and hanging out. Police, you got to have a little bit more common sense than you're exercising now. This is observing social behavior, right? Young people are really not all that experienced, right? They're going to try a little thing here and there. But honestly, we as adults should be able to run circles around them. We've all been there. We've all done that. Some of us just watch our friends trying to do it. But it was obvious that there was a reason why that side of the complex was more attractive. No supervision almost at all. A couple of the coaches were back and forth. They were running up and down, trying to get their kids sorted out. I saw a number of both the private and high school, administrators getting children ready to perform. But honestly, they were really not paying that much attention to what all of these kids were doing. So you had a recipe for disaster. You had children, athletes who were performing. You had non-performing athletes who actually should not have been in that area because that stand was just for people who were performing that day. So if you were just there as a spectator, there was the other side, the TE McField side, that was a spectator stand. And no one was enforcing this. Then on top of that, you had a gate that was open that was allowing non-school participants to drive in their vehicles and sit there and encourage other bad behavior. There were allegations of pot smoking going on in that same area around the corner as well. So all of this going on, and the police and the security are all the way on the other side of the complex. So as soon as the fight broke out, then all of a sudden everybody's like, whew, a convergence of everyone. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Even Kenneth was like, why are there no security in this stand? You have a stand full of athletes, full of kids. I guess adrenaline is popping off, whatever. You would have thought that there would have been one or two security guards standing in each quadrant of the stand. To me, that was just common sense that apparently that day was in short supply. So no, folks, it didn't happen. And here's what happened instead. Have a look at this video. This is crazy.
Yo, ease on the dogs. Ease on the dogs. Yeah. Ease on the dogs. Ease on the dogs. Ease a fam.
Okay, so Yes, boy. Karen says there's a small group of girls in the female bathroom who appeared to be up to no good, and I reported it right away. Sharon, next generation of criminals look like. Whoa, this is serious because I tell you what, these are our kids, folks. They're not personally ours, but they're ours. And if we don't get this situation under control, you think we got issues now? You guys better wake up. I'm serious. This is absolutely disgusting. So the latter part of the video in the parking lot. So the fight then dispersed. The kids ran off. Now listen to how ridiculous this is, right? Police came, security came. They said, all right, if you're not an athlete, you need to go. Of course, they have no way of knowing who's an athlete and who is an athlete because even the non-athletes were kind of dressed in athletic gear. So those kids, are told, okay, you got to go. And they're like, no, I'm here performing. And then they had to start trying to call coaches like, is this kid performing? Is that kid performing? So they had people go out the gate. And then the coaches were saying, okay, this one's performing, bring this one back in. The rest of you go over on the other side. Well, like I tell you, these kids are apparently a little bit smarter than the authorities. So as they started to leave, when they were all the way down by the end, almost where the entrance, like where one of the gates are, police are still by the bleachers. These kids, like a good 10, 15 of them, jump right back over the fence. And Mall Road was there to catch it, right? So I was like, hold up a second. Police, you see the kids down there jumping the fence while you're standing up here? You needed to put someone at the entrance gate all the way down there. We are so missing the plot. I mean, honestly. Unbelievable. So anyway, eventually the police realized what was going on. They ran back up that way. And I had that footage here somewhere. But anyway, they ran back up that way. And then they were able to, tell the young people, no, you need to stay out of the stadium. I was just sitting there shaking my head. So part 2 of this fiasco is the authorities having to intervene when a parent, now listen to this hot mess, was trying to defend her son. And I cannot blame this parent because you guys know what has been happening in our schools. The degree of bullying is absolutely horrendous and ridiculous. So this poor mother now is having to defend her son against these bullies. Now I'm going to show you guys another video, if I can pull it up here in time, of exactly what was going on here with some of these young folks. Yeah, I got this one. Hold on. Let me just see if I can pull this one up quickly for you guys. So they were attacking her son. Now, I'm not crystal clear if it's the same young man that was in the same incident, because what ends up happening in situations like this, folks, is one fight starts and it escalates into multiple fights, right? Other people, their adrenaline starts pumping and they start to get stupid. It's the nature of groupthink, and it happens all the time. This is why, as parents, you got to understand a little bit about psychology. You got to be a little bit of a nurse, of a doctor. As parents ourselves, we have to be well-rounded. Our children should not be hoodwinking us and turning us into proper fools and running circles around us. But apparently, that's exactly what's happening. They're running circles around school administrators, teachers, coaches, the police, the security guard, and parents as well. So they're out in the parking lot now trying to go at her child, and she was not having it. Right? So I want to show you guys something else here. You saw the footage this morning, and let me just message one of our guests. All right, so we do have 3 guests that are coming on this morning, so I want them to try to come on in order because I think that's important. But okay. So, right. So, listen, mama took off her shoes and she was ready to punch somebody. And you can see that back in her day, clearly Mama Bear has had a few fights because she knew how to move around like a boxer. She was like Mike Tyson, light on her feet and ready to knock somebody's child out. And can I blame her? Well, you never want to encourage violence, but at the same time, you have to be prepared to defend yourself. And if you are not prepared to defend yourself and your children, then as a mother, as a parent, something is probably very wrong. So if your child is going to be attacked, no one in their right mind can blame you for stepping in and for defending your child. So I can tell you that as a parent, I would have done the exact same thing, legally right or wrong. If you're going to be attacking my child, especially with all those boys, and like I said, now it spills over. The adrenaline is popping. All these kids are they're just crazy in the moment. And they think that they can beat up kids. This is going to continue, folks, until a child gets seriously hurt. All now, we have a minister of education, Juliana O'Connor Conley, who has never, ever addressed this situation. She has not said one kahu, kehe, kawa, ka nothing. Nothing, folks. Juliana, you know what? Let me say this. Who is running against Juliana? It's what's his name? Elvis. Now listen, Elvis has some good ideas. I don't think that Elvis is ministerial material, but you know what? At least Elvis speaks up. At least he has a position on something other than gay people. Elvis' platform is no weed, no vote. And he speaks up on other issues. Juliana O'Connor Conley can only pray about one thing. And she can only speak up about one thing. And I'm sorry, but at some point I have to ask the question, why? Why is she not addressing this issue? There are things that need to be put in place to deal with this situation immediately, but no. They are just allowing it to continue its natural flow. And can I tell you that problems do not resolve themselves? I think we all know this. All 220 of you that are watching, you know that problems don't just disappear on their own. You need to proactively address those issues. And she has done nothing. So you, Little Cayman and Cayman Brac East folks who are about to vote her back in probably, I would really hope that you would think about that. Of course, that's a mother's instinct. And now I'm tempted, Charles, I was just thinking of you actually, because I'm tempted to come and take some lessons with you, child, just in case I need to swing like Mike Tyson. What they say, light as a butterfly or whatever the saying goes. Listen, I will thump you in your head if you mess with my child. Now, you might get a little lick in. I'm not saying that you're not, but I'm also going to thump you, okay? But, we hope that it never comes to that. I mean, what on earth are we doing here, folks? Lord, I would rather keep my child home and homeschool her than to put up with this kind of foolishness. I would rather have to work 50 jobs and send her to a boarding school than to have to deal with this kind of disastrous situation that we have in our government schools. The private school students were there, and I know all of you want to say, oh, well, private schools, same issues, blah, blah, blah. You can say whatever you want about private schools, but guess what? They were not the ones fighting on Friday. That's what I know. Lacey, thank you so much. Yeah, nobody can fault this mother. And Charles says it's not violence when you're defending your family. It's common sense. No, listen, I don't know who that woman is, but I'm going to take my hats off to her this morning because she was doing what she needed to do. Because like I said, my concern is at some point, you're going to have a situation where a young person is going to fall backwards the wrong way, hit their head. And next thing you know, you have a young child who's in a coma or who's dead or something worse. And then we're going to sit down talking about how did we get here? We know how we're getting here, folks. We need a solution and how to fix this. So listen, there was also, Friday was just popping off with some drama, okay? So also on Friday, there was a fire that broke out. And I'm aware that Pearlina is waiting in the back studio. Pearlina, just hang in there, girl. We're obviously going to go a little bit into overtime today because we need to talk about some of these other issues, right? So we've got Pearlina that's up this morning for half an hour. We have Justin coming on, and we have Dr. Frank that's supposed to come on after him. So right after the, not long after, I should say, the situation at the sports complex, about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, right after 3 o'clock, a fire broke out in Windsor Park, a brush fire, bushfire, whatever the heck you want to call it. And man, the smoke was bellowing all over the place, folks. Irony, 5 years ago, almost to the exact date, there was another bushfire in Windsor Park that had broke out. And big shout out to Carl Solomon. Carl actually had it on his Facebook page. It came up in the memories on Saturday that 5 years ago, there was a bushfire in Windsor Park that they were trying to get under control. Now, you know, brush fires, bushfires, whatever you call them, they happen. Okay. Normally they happen because of irresponsible people flickering cigarettes in the bush or other things. Sometimes Mother Nature can start such fires, like if it's a really hot day and something sparks in the bush, like all the debris is dry. I don't think that that's what started this, but I have no way of knowing. So I don't know how much of an investigation the police will undertake to look at the sources of the fire. But the fire started. And boy, here's what I'm going to tell you guys. With this fire came a firestorm of political ridiculousness that I understand is still continuing this morning with another live stream event. Now, it's political silly season. And like I said, we've got 3 candidates on this morning. And there are people who feel, I don't know if they're so concerned about their candidate of choice potentially losing that they then feel like they have to discredit everybody else or nitpick about everybody else. Like, I don't really know what the end game is, but some people are going very, very strong in this regard. So Barbara is running in Georgetown South. And this is where the fire started, that area of Windsor Park. So of course she was out there. Alric Lindsay was also out there as someone who's put himself forward for political office. You know, this is what you do when you want to be an elected official. Whatever issues are happening in the community, you show up and you're present and you see how you can assist. Natural disasters happen in the US. Joe Biden, who's now president, is going to step up to the plate, go to the site, visit, talk to people there, see if there's anything that he can do. Just lend his support. But let me tell you what happened. It popped off. Let's start with this video. And then we're going to talk about the ridiculousness of this as well. Let me see here now. Where is this video? So it was just all kind of craziness on Friday.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had a bushfire down in the back here this evening. And basically I'm talking to Miss Markfield here this evening, who is this lady right here, who Rick had promised to come and clear all this clutter for her since December. Another empty promise that have not been kept to the people of Windsor Park. Had he did what he said he was going to do, all of this would have not occurred today. So market people, when I tell you this man is just not a man of his word, and only for the South Sound area. He do not ask black people down inside here. Sorry to put it that way, but there's no other way to put it. Because he started out with us.
All right, so the video continues, but someone sent me that snippet. I didn't personally watch it, but I heard a few people talking about it. Now, you know, Noel is my friend, but Noel, I got it. I can't give you right when I think it's wrong. And I think that your desire to support Barbara, and I know that you have just posted on social media that you're now a card-holding member of the PPM. You are drinking the Kool-Aid, my friend, and the Kool-Aid is mixed with something else. It ain't just Kool-Aid. It is mixed with some straight up Hennessy and God knows what else is in it. And I kind of get it a little bit because I was a card holding member of the PPM. I wasn't quite as crazy as that. But, you know, I rode hard for them. And I get when you're loyal to a group or organization, you support them. And sometimes you're willing to overlook their shortcomings. But the name of this program, folks, is a cold, hard truth. And I don't care what affiliations you have. I don't care if you're PPM, progressives, not progressives, CDP, UDP, want to be independent, carrying a card to go Foster's. It doesn't matter to me. We're going to give you the cold, hard truth. Blaming Alaric Lindsay for a fire is one of the stupidest things I have ever heard during this entire campaign season. And trust me, I have heard some absolutely ridiculous things. How is Alaric to blame for a fire that isn't his fault? Unless he went there and started the fire himself. How is this his fault? Oh, because he promised this lady he would clean up her yard or have it cleaned up. And because he didn't do that, and that's just where the fire started, all of a sudden, it is now his fault. And then we jump from, this is where you gotta rein it in a little bit here. When you're in high, you know, your emotions are running high during election season, you jump from it's his fault causing this bushfire to he doesn't care about people in Windsor Park. He only cares about South Sound people. And so the Windsor Park crew shouldn't be voting for him is the most stupid thing I've ever heard. Listen, I've not even bothered to speak to Alaric that I'd be addressing this issue today. But let me set the record straight for all of you who might be wondering with a little dose of the cold hard truth, okay? First of all, Alaric grew up in Windsor Park. He is a Windsor Park boy himself. His family home, to the best of my knowledge, is still there. And it wasn't too long ago that he had moved back into Windsor Park because I think he may have had his apartment rented out. It was only during COVID when his tenants left that he moved back into that apartment instead of having it sit there empty. His constituency, like everybody else's, is a mixed bag. There is a reason why when they did the borders for the new single member constituencies, they didn't give you just Windsor Park. They wanted to mix it up economically. They wanted to give you higher class folks, if you want to call it that, more affluent, whatever you want to call it, part of South Sound, part of Windsor Park. You're going to represent different types of people. So this idea that a candidate can only represent one section and expect to get in is stupid. If Barbara thinks she can only represent, for example, Windsor Park and get in, she's stupid because the votes are pretty much going to be split 50-50. She has to be flexible enough to appeal to people from South Sound, address their issues and concern. But you see, Barbara knows she's not getting that South Sound vote, you know. Let me tell you what the real issue is here. It's easy to attack South Sound. Oh, they're rich people. No. There are people who have a keen understanding of things like the environment. There are people like Ms. Berna Murphy who have a keen understanding of what Barbara was about to do, her and this so-called progressive government. They're so progressive, they were going to progressively destroy our environment at Smith Barcadier. So that's why she got no support in Windsor Park, in South Sound. And somehow you think that by throwing Alaric under the bus and saying, well, oh, he loves South Sound people, that's going to make Windsor Park people turn against him. Here's the joke of it all and irony of it all. Alaric spends more of his time in Windsor Park because those people need him and need a hands-on approach more than the people who are much more financially independent, intellectually independent, and everything else in South Sound. So the people that Alaric is working overtime to help are actually the poorer people in Windsor Park. And that is where listen, you think during COVID, Alaric was delivering food to South Sound people? Don't be stupid. Alric was in the poorest of the poor areas from West Bay, East End, Georgetown, straight through. The South Sound people did not need Alric to come and deliver their food. And most of the South Sound people don't really need to see Alric. They will listen to what he's had to say on key issues to them. And they understand that if he has the intellectual capacity and the ability, desire, and drive to make changes, meaningful changes on behalf of this country, that will happen. Now, step back a minute. Alric is the only candidate who goes out there on a regular basis to clean up the environment with groups like Amplify Cayman, Plastic Free Cayman, whatever their names are. There's these wonderful groups out there who go out all the time and pick up your garbage, your trash that you're just discarding on the beach and all over the place. Alric has been out there doing this. When has Barbara done that? Since we're such big time Barbara supporters, I want to know, when has Barbara done that? She is the MP in this area. So this woman, I don't know who Miss Macfield is, and I'm not trying to make any disparaging remarks about the woman because I do not know her. But what I want to understand is, if that section, and you saw the garbage, let's back up here a second. Pearlina, you hang tight, girl. You don't worry. You're going to get your half an hour when I'm finished. Let's look at this again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had a bushfire down in the back here.
Look at the garbage.
And basically, I'm talking to Miss Macfield here this evening, who is this lady right here, who Alric had promised to come and clear all this clutter for her since December. Another empty promise.
Now, hold on 1 second. That looks like this woman's front door practically, okay? The front door was here and the garbage was right here. And I am sorry, but if you can have trash and garbage and debris like that so close to your front door, that is disgusting and nasty. And I have to question the homeowner about, why were you not doing something? But okay, we're not going to blame Miss Macfield, because in this country, we don't believe in holding people accountable. We don't believe in holding the people who live in such conditions accountable. They can get up every day, get dressed, put on a nice outfit, put on makeup, get hair done, get nails done, get toenails done, and the works. The shithole that they literally live in. But we're not going to go there. We don't want to be insulting nobody with the hard, cold truth. But your MP, she didn't see us. Why would it take her going to Alric to begin with? Why is Alric the one being thrown under the bus? You know why? Because poor little Barbara is scared in her little boots that Alric could actually take the seat from her. So every opportunity you guys get, not you guys, a few select people, a few select Barbara supporters, to attack Alric, that's what you do. The man farts in the wind. Ooh, the fart came in my direction. And now I got to run to the hospital because I've caught COVID because Alric farted. It's like, that's how ridiculous it is, right? Look here. Now, if you think that Alric is a man of empty promises, I want to make sure that you understand what transpired. And I've got the evidence right in front of me. So allow me to tell you what happened. Alric contacted Mr. Richard Sims, and you guys know Mr. Sims is over at DEH. He's now the director over there. On December the 13th, 4 p.m., Alric reached out on December the 13th, 2020, to Mr. Sims. And he explained that there's a lady that has some garbage, bed, other stuff piled up in her yard at the end of Norbrook Street in Windsor Park. Can't be easily moved to the front of the yard without help. Anyway, some of your guys can pass by and take a look this week to see what is the best way to move it. He received a reply at 1:18 p.m. This is proof in the pudding, folks. Says, unfortunately, we don't do cleanups like that. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Where's my tea? Cindy, if you're listening to the program, can I please borrow that bottle of wine that you had on your segment on Saturday? Because I need to add that to my morning tea. Now, you guys know I don't really drink. So DEH say that they're unable to clean it up because they don't do cleanups like that. They go on to say that the garbage has to be placed in front of the property for collection. And if he could get some volunteers together to do that, they can move it, but we're only into collection and move on to the next spot. All right. Now, you guys know that during Christmas, they do their annual collection. So then the response was, when are you doing the island-wide collection? And Albert goes on to say, I'll take so-and-so, I'm not going to call this person's name, and we'll have a look tomorrow to see what can be done. So I don't know what transpired after then or what happened, why this hasn't been done. But I do have two questions. Lady, did you reach out to your own MP? MP, are you not walking around in your poor little district of Windsor Park to see what areas are looking as deplorable as Norbrook to have that section cleaned up? You cleaned up one little lake 3.5, 4 years ago. That's your one glorious thing that you did in Windsor Park. Good for you. During your tenure, but there are other areas that are not getting cleaned up. Meanwhile, people like Miss Romelia, welcome, is in Windsor Park every single day trying to beautify the community and clean up. She's one of the worker bees that's out there. Just like Alric has been one of the worker bees that has been out there picking up garbage all over Cayman, not just Windsor Park. I want to caution people to don't make yourself get stupid for these MPs, okay? Talk about the issues that are facing this country and what their solutions are. I have not heard Barbara speak on a single issue that mattered to the people. I'm sorry. And I like Barbara as a person. As an MP, she has failed this country. She's failed Windsor Park. She's failed South Sound. I don't care where you are. She has failed you. As a woman in this community, she has failed you because she has refused to speak up whilst the Speaker of the House beat the crap out of a worker at her workplace. Miss Barbara has remained silent. Those are the types of things, folks, that I cannot and will not ignore. I don't care who the person is. Miss Joy says she needed to clean up her own yard. That's not how people win votes. What the hell? Well, you see, this is the ridiculousness now that we're getting into because we are 4 weeks out. Yesterday would have been exactly 4 weeks from the general election on April the 14th. So people getting all up in their feelings. Romelia says if Alwick contacted DEH and they were told to bag it up and they'd pick it up, what more could Alwick do? Honey child, they actually want Alwick to move in with the woman, bag up her garbage herself, or he bag it up for her, take the bags, bag it up in the whole 9 yards. Why is this woman, why does she even have all this garbage in her yard? That's the first question. Do you know what that does to the environment? The rats, the roaches, the potential fire hazard? Noli, if you really want to address people in your community, and I know you've gone after the Filipino community before for hanging their drawers out on the balcony, talk about this dirtiness, this disgrace of a garbage. Talk to that homeowner about why she has not cleaned up her own damn yard. Yes, Steve, I agree. If you need help, call Noel and others in the community. They will come and help you bag it up and clean it up. And you know what? When an individual has an interest in their own property, because I am sorry, but you think that you could come to my residence and see my yard looking like that? Imagine what inside my house probably would look like. If I don't have enough pride to make sure the outside looks half decent, what the hell does the inside look like? We as Caymanians need to do better. We need to take pride in ourselves, in our homes, in our communities, and put forward an effort. That's what we need to do. And I'm surprised. The only thing that surprised me about this live stream is that Noel was not addressing the real issue here of why this woman was living in these conditions to begin with. And looking all pretty with her nice little frock, dress standing up by the door, but 2 steps outside your door, your yard looks like that? Come on now. Noelle, you know if this was not election season, you would not be talking about Alric. You'd be talking about this poor woman and why she needs to clean this up. Let's keep it straight. Lacey says the only word I can find to describe his actions is trifling. Instead of blaming Alric, he should have shown community support to Miss McField, lend a hand to help clean up the mess that she made. I'm just saying, Lacey, you're right on point. Joy says, I don't get it. She and everyone else in her yard at stuff, used stuff, and threw it there instead of putting it in a garbage bag. It's no one's job to clean up her own yard. Trust me. Romelia says, let us make change. We want a people person who cares about Windsor Park, not Mrs. Donald Trump. Well, there's only one reason why people get this ridiculous, in my opinion. And it's because they have something to fear. And I guess she's afraid of Alric. King joining us from the UK. What's up? Alice, Sherry-Ann, Jonathan. Trust me, it's all facts. I'm telling you. And I'm not going to sit here and lie for nobody. Like I said, I was a PPM member, and there are those in the PPM that I still like, but I ain't going to give them right if they're wrong, and vice versa. Let's get it together. Our next guest, Pearlina McGaw-Lumsden, has also been attacked by Noelle because her sign said she was having a yard meeting. And Noelle felt like the term yard meeting was somehow degrading to him. I'm telling you, you guys are trifling. That is the right word. Who said that just now? That was Lacey. Lacey, trifling is the word of the day. You need a CMR mug for that, because trust me when I tell you, that's exactly what this is. It's majoring in the minor. That means you're trifling, and you're trifling super, super, super hard. It is stupid. And yes, everybody's entitled to their opinion. So if you want to talk about the speck in the sky this morning that is pink, and somehow that bothers you, everyone has a platform. Everyone has social media friends, and you can jump on your platform. Nobody's not saying that you can't do that. And you can express your opinion. But you have to recognize that in a community this size, everybody's talking about how trifling these topics are. Every morning I wake up, somebody's like, oh God, Noelle went live at 4 o'clock this morning. That boy is trifling again. He's obsessed with this yard sign saying backyard, yard back, whatever the heck it was. I was like, really? Are you for real? I don't even get it. But like I said, I get human psychology and I understand people. Y'all got me hot up in here. Look at this. I'm actually sweating this morning. What the hell? The AC isn't on. It's not like the topic is really all that hot. The AC is not on. I got to turn that on. So good, folks. It is trifling and it's ridiculous. And like I said, knowing what I know about human psychology, it's all because Barbara is scared. And Barbara, I don't know if you put Noelle up to this or he's just trying to assist you with the campaign. But I want to go back to something I mentioned last week. It's called the Barbara Streisand effect. Folks, learn about it. Because the Barbara Streisand effect says the more you draw attention to something, so you're like, oh no, this needs to be fixed. Child, all you're doing is bringing a big spotlight on the issue, on the topic, and it's not going to be as helpful to you as you actually think. So the more you draw the spotlight on Alric, you're actually helping Alric, honey. The more you try to nitpick about other candidates, oh, backyard and sign it. Pearlina just got 10 more views on her page after your thing about it. People are like, oh, what Pearlina doing in my backyard? Let me go see. It's unintended consequences. You are making Pearlina relevant, and I'm sure she appreciates the free marketing. You are making Alric relevant because now we have just spent no less than half an hour talking about Alric. You see what I'm saying? You're only helping him. You are not hurting him. Sometimes you say less and it is better. Miss Pearlina, good morning.
Good morning, Sandra. That was quite interesting. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
I know you must be chuckling this morning, girl. Sometimes that's all you can do. Listen, there was so much more that popped off this weekend, folks, but I don't want to take any more time away from our guests because we're already half an hour behind.
Sure.
So, Pearlina, welcome so much to the Cold Hard Truth. This is your first time on the program. I don't know how often you get to tune in, honey child, but some days we bring it hard and
Quite
extra
often.
cold. So, welcome. You were running for, remind me now of your district.
Georgetown West.
Georgetown West.
Yes.
All right. So tell us why you have decided to run in Georgetown West. And I know you switched from where you were last time.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about why that decision was made and what changes you're hoping that you would bring to the table.
Well, as you know, this is my third time that I'm running. The first time that I ran was actually when it was multi-member district. So Georgetown West, even though from a single member constituency, is the first time, yes, in Georgetown West, but it's actually my second time because when I ran the first time, Georgetown West was part of Georgetown. So in essence, it's not really my first time running for Georgetown West. I ran, that was 2009. In 2017, I did Georgetown North. Of course, you know, I did pretty well there. I decided on Georgetown West because I feel Georgetown West is really underrepresented at this time, Sandra. And that's the honest truth. When walking around Georgetown West, there's so many issues, whether there is accessibility to the MP, concerns or emails, phone calls not being addressed, no visibility when it comes to the MP. Flooding is also an issue there. There's a huge issue with regards to the elderly not being insured. And so I felt it was unrepresented. Even looking back from a statistics standpoint, I did well in Georgetown in 2009. But I don't want us to always focus on Georgetown West, Georgetown North. I'm Caymanian. That's the bottom line. And if I choose to run in any district, that's my birthright because I'm Caymanian. But again, Georgetown West is unrepresented. I need to focus on Georgetown West. I did well in Georgetown West. I left West Bay at the age of 10. So Georgetown West is not new to me, Sandra. I lived there too, in and out. I had friends that were that lived there. And so that area, I mean, I went to school on Walker's Road. Most of the time I was on Walker's Road. So people keep thinking, okay, she doesn't live there. She never grew up there. That's fine, but I'm Caymanian. I live in Georgetown, and if I choose an area that I'm passionate about, if I choose an area that unrepresented, if I choose an area that I think needs a voice to amplify their concerns, that's going to be my area. And I've done well in Georgetown. No matter what area I think we identify, I think I would have done well anyway. But Georgetown West is my area. Georgetown West is, I'm happy. They have been very welcoming. They have huge concerns. Again, like I said, no accessibility, no visibility with their MP. You know, they have lost a lot of hope, Sandra. The young people have lost a lot of hope. They feel very dejected. They feel marginalized. They feel forgotten. And so I'm here. I'm just here to offer me as a candidate, my capabilities as a candidate, my passion for Caymanians as a candidate. And I'm just here to enrich people's lives.
All right, honey child. I like it. I hear you. All right, so we're going to talk about some of your key platform issues. But before we get into that, Pearlina, every single candidate has been asked this sole question coming on to this election, because this election is very, very interesting. And I think it would be remiss of us if we didn't continue asking the question of all of the candidates that are coming onto the program. Now, as you well know, there is an issue that is looming over us. It is the elephant in the entire country, not even in the room anymore. Absolutely. This election was called early because of this issue. Now, you are a former UDP and CDP member. You ran with them. Was it in the last election that you ran with them?
I did, 2017.
2017, right.
And 2009.
And 2009. Okay, good. All right. So out of curiosity, are you still a CDP member? Do you guys resign from that party, or how does that work?
I'm no longer a member of CDP. I don't even think the party exists, to be honest.
Well, child, after the last election, they pretty much didn't exist, but yes.
Yes.
So the leader of that party, because I guess technically they're still registered as a party, assaulted a woman in her workplace, which he had some sort of ownership. His son was part owner in the business.
Absolutely.
And this has really rubbed a lot of us women the wrong way, right? Nobody wants to think that you could get assaulted. It's bad enough that there are women being assaulted in their homes, in the privacy of their homes, and they have to deal with that shame and that hurt. But to know that you could go out in public and be assaulted by someone who is your boss practically in public, and 5 other people have to pull this man off of you, is really, really quite concerning. So the question that I have for you, Pearlina, and it's been asked of everyone, is if you are successful in this election and you get in, you become an MP, the PPM, they're out there working hard. They even managed to flip Alva this weekend. Well, we're not talking about that right now, folks, because that show's coming up later. But they're trying to flip everybody so that they can get back in and call it an alliance government. Last time it was a unity government. That name wasn't good enough to continue using. This time we're going to call it an alliance government because the PPM is all about a good show and performance, no substance. So they come to you, Miss Pearlina, and they say, "Ooh, Pearlina, girl, you took Georgetown West. We need you. And we also need McKeeva. Captain Eugene not getting in, so we're not going to worry about him. Bernie looked like he might hold his own, so I don't know about Ralston. But let's say that they're going to form a government, and part of that government is going to be McKeeva Bush. And in typical McKeeva Bush fashion, he not getting in and helping them unless he's helping himself. So he's going to be returned to either ministerial position or Speaker of the House. What do you say when the PPM comes knocking to your door? Or McKeeva, who still has you in speed dial, girl, because you know he not get rid of your number. He calls you up and said, "Pearlina, TD, what your nickname is, what would he call you?" He said, "Girl, we need your help to form this government, and they're going to put me back in as Speaker of the House." What would you say?
Okay. So Sandra, I'm just going to be as honest and transparent as I possibly can. I grew up in a dysfunctional home. And when I say dysfunctional, as you know, my mom can't read or write, and my father was alcoholic. My father beat my mother every Friday night, until I was to the age of 10.
Oh
and so when you're coming from that background, understandably, I cannot support violence or abuse or assault in any form, shape whatsoever. So let me make that absolutely clear. That will always be my stance. Will I speak up? I will always speak up. My morals, my integrity, my background holds very dear to myself. And that is something that I'm not going to compromise on, Sandra. Having said that, I don't represent Pearlina McGaw-Lumsden, Sandra. I represent the people of Georgetown West, should they decide to vote me in. And so, although I can give direction, although I can voice what my concerns are, which will be exactly what I've stated to you, where my background is, where my integrity lies, and who I am as an individual, and how that has scarred me I'm 50, and it's still scarring me right now at this moment, because I remember when I was 5, I remember when I was 6, those nights. And so you'll never get rid of the trauma that has, that holds in your life.
Yeah.
But having said that, that is for me, it's incumbent upon me to go back to Georgetown West, because whether we like it or not, Sandra, some people are okay with it, some people are not. But it's a dialogue that I have to entertain with regards to the people in Georgetown West. Do you guys want me part of the government? And obviously, I'll live the advantages and disadvantages and go from there. They have to decide for me, because I didn't vote myself in. But we have to look at that also, Sandra. There are expectations that are required when you're an MP and when people want you to be part of the government. So if the expectations are this high, then obviously I have to be part of the government. But let's not be fools, Sandra. We're here to be part of the government. That's the only how I'm going to make significant change. That's the only how I'm going to impact lives. That's the only how voices are going to be amplified.
Mm-hmm.
So when that question comes, honestly, it's a dialogue that I would have with Georgetown West. How do I get that dialogue? Town hall meeting, WhatsApp, whatever mediums are obviously to my advantage or to my accessibility is what I'm going to use. Because like I said, I will stand firm on my belief system. I will stand firm and say that absolutely no violence should be condoned against a woman. None.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that firsthand. I know that firsthand and what that has caused to me. So that's how I would approach it, Sandra. And I think that's the best way that I think it can be approached. It's not up to me to decide what's beneficial for 1,292 voters. That's not my job. I can guide them, but such major decisions that will have an impact on your life, on the country, that's for the people of Georgetown West to have a dialogue with. And that's, to me, is true democracy.
All right. Jesse says, fair enough, but would you have voted no confidence if called in Parliament?
And I think it goes back again. Thanks, Jesse, for your question. It goes back again to the people of Georgetown West. I would have amplified my voice. I would have amplified that an apology. I can tell you I would have spoken out against it. I can tell you that. I can tell you that I would have demanded or hoped that an apology would have been forthcoming, Sandra. But again, I would have gone back to Georgetown West and say, here's the situation. How do you feel? And let me know and go from there. That's how I would approach it. But I would have spoken out. I don't condone it. And definitely, I would hear the voices of Georgetown West.
Do you think that there's a point in time, Pearlina, because we get this all the time. I think there is a concept of participatory democracy. And then there's such a thing as the people have actually elected you to do a job and to get it done.
Of course.
So there has to be a balance, and you cannot run to the people for every single decision, or sometimes even important decisions. That's why they trust you. Like, you have to be their voice. You have to do what's right. Do you think that there comes a point in time and there could potentially be an issue whereby the people might say, this is what the majority want? And there have been tons of times in history where this has proven the majority is not always right. So the majority was all for slavery. The majority was all for segregation back in the 60s and 50s and 30s and so on, right?
Absolutely.
And it was the sole voices in the wilderness, the Martin Luther Kings of their time. And before him, even if we go back to biblical times, the majority didn't believe in Christianity. The majority didn't believe in Jesus. In fact, the majority crucified him. So does there come a point in time when the majority could be wrong? And you could say to yourself that although this is what my people are saying, my people are wrong, and they would be, carrying us down a perilous path. Is there a time when all MPs have to be willing to speak up and speak out and vote for the right thing, regardless of what the majority says?
And Sandra, that's a very good point. And like I said, my voice will always be amplified on concerns like this. So it's not like I'm saying that I'm not going to speak up on it and guide them and direct them. Because as you say, there's so many things in life that people, it's black or white, right? It's right or wrong. And some of us see it and some of us don't. And that's perfectly fine. But I will always use my voice. I will always use the capabilities, my morals, my integrity to guide the people of Georgetown West. That's always going to happen. But, and truth be told, maybe at some point I'd be like, okay, when I have actually, gather all the information, gather all the input, I then have to make that decision also. So I'm not saying because the majority is deciding, no, let's join a government, let's not join a government, that I too am not going to think, listen, this is the right thing to do and make a decision. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it's a dialogue that has to be entertained first and foremost, and then go from there. That's all that I'm saying. But you're absolutely right. Sometimes not because everybody's on the same side means it's the right decision.
All right. One question coming in from Sue this morning wants to know, let me just back up here. Sue says, good morning, everyone. I have a bit of a different question for each candidate. What plans do you have to ensure inclusion for the special needs community?
Well, I honestly think, thanks, Susan, for your question. I think before We weren't recognizing special needs. I sat on educational council where special needs was a complete different issue that we had to deal with from an educational standpoint. And so you had SENs that were necessary that we put in place to ensure that special needs individuals were obviously given scholarships because they were not, we were not able or to facilitate such an education for special needs. Do I think Lighthouse School is doing a phenomenal job when when it comes to special needs? Absolutely, Sandra, a phenomenal job. Do I think that they need to improve? Of course they do. Do I think that we have a capacity issue? Yes, they do. And so I will always facilitate whenever it comes to special needs, because as you can see, it's becoming an issue quite frequently now, right? And those are the things that we have to address and look at. And to me, it is where we lacked more than anything was development. Where we lacked was funding. And so my focus would be on funding and definitely having accessibility to education.
All right. Kimberly has some questions coming up. Lacey says, but as MP, your yes or no answer is expected to help guide the people. We will make our own minds up at the end of the day, but we need a straight answer if you would support the no confidence motion against the speaker. So she's asking for a more direct.
And I'm going to be straight out with anybody. My personal vote would have been a no confidence motion against the speaker. I would have voted. But again, I would always take it back to Georgetown West.
So what if you're conflicted? What if you're, I mean, obviously you said that you have dealt with, violence in your home and you know the destructive impact of that.
Of course.
So if you are minded to vote no confidence, and then you go back to the people and they say to you,
I would support the no confidence.
Yes, that's what I meant. Okay, sorry. Okay. Yes, so you're voting no confidence in him. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes for the no confidence vote.
Sandra, we can't think that MPs and ministers are not held accountable and to be responsible. We voted them in for a reason. Okay. There's a code of conduct we don't have that's obviously absent, but we have to have a certain standards. If you, not only are young people losing hope and dejected, a lot of us now don't even respect MPs and the premier. And why has that happened? They haven't been responsible. They haven't done what they're supposed to do or they promised what they're supposed to do. And they're not living up to certain codes of conduct. It is incumbent upon me as a responsible individual to act accordingly. And if I'm not doing that, and I think it goes without saying that coming from a dysfunctional home and having an abusive mother, I'm not going to support assaulting a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This is my mother. These are women. These are people that, have raised society, contributed to society, and made their mark in society. These are women that are warriors and bend over backwards for their children to ensure that they have a good quality life. There is nothing other than being or treating a woman like a queen, like a human being, and me saying that you taking away that dignity from her can be that I'm for. I'm not for that, Sandra. I have a mother. I'm a woman. I have nieces and nephews. I have to be an example to them. It's 10 of us, 8 girls and 2 boys. There's 29 nieces and nephews. Of that is 20 girls. I have to be an example to them. So of course, but it's a dialogue too that I have to have with the people of Georgetown West.
Yeah. Is the starting point for this dialogue? I have to wonder. I mean, to me, it's just so shocking that there are still so many people in the community, which in your community that you're hoping to represent, as well as other communities, there are so many people that are willing to excuse this kind of behavior.
Yeah.
To the point where it is disturbing. When I listen to people saying, oh, well, she attacked him first, or because she's a lesbian, she somehow deserved this, which none of that is true. But I'm just saying the mere fact that you would say that speaks to who we are as a country still, and how so many people in this community still simply do not get the point that there's no excuse for violence against anybody, and definitely no excuse against violence
Against a woman.
yeah, and especially in her workplace. I mean, no violence at all, but I mean, my God, if you can't go to work and be safe, what next? So some more questions coming in.
Sure.
Kimberly is asking about education, equality for women, cost of living, and immigration. So Miss Jewel has indicated, Kimberly, that if you message her your details, she will actually send you Pearlina's
Absolutely. I mean,
manifesto.
yeah, we're here, and I'm more than happy to send my manifesto. I think we shared it with you, but I think also at this time, because there's so many issues and it's multifaceted, I'm more than happy for anybody to share their details. And I know we're running behind on schedule and everything, and I'm more than happy to sit down and have coffee. Of course, as you know, we're 4 weeks out, so it's a little difficult, but I'll try to knock on every single door, try to have a conversation with people, because Sandra, we're at a crossroads. We have so many issues to deal with, honestly, whether it's immigration, it's the environment, housing is very huge on everyone's agenda. Just because it's so many young people that they want their voice heard, they need a place in this paradise, and to be a part of society and feel like they're part of society, who have worked hard. So let's make sure we understand they're working hard for this. This is not somebody that's expecting a handout. They just want hands up. And so, I'm more than happy. I think Jewel will share our information, our manifesto with you, but I'm more than happy for anybody to, my cell is 925-6151. Please WhatsApp me, and I'm more than happy to try to come to your home to try to discuss the many issues that this country is facing.
Okay. We have Jesse asking, would you support legislation that if a developer is given concessions by government, they must offer a portion of that development as affordable housing?
Yeah, I had a yard meeting last week, Thursday. And that's something that one of the solutions that we did come up with, Sandra, is that as a developer and as government, are we entertaining and are we having a dialogue with the private developers to say, here is $1 million concession. Of that, can 500,000 go towards affordable homes, and apply 100,000? These are just hypothetical figures, of course. 100,000 to each Caymanian homes that we can earmark. So if we take in 10, or we take in 5. But also, Sandra, I want to bring light to housing thing. But so Jesse, I will support it, of course. And I want to bring light to something, Sandra. There's something called Zone A, if I remember, or Area A. And each planning application, I'm not too sure if you're aware of it, whenever it comes to planning, there's an earmark, there are fees with regards to planning your application, with regards to planning when it comes to Area A development. So if you're building condominiums in West Bay Road, or you're building condominiums in Cayman Kite, there's an amount, which is Mr. Bush, so let's give him credit, which is Mr. Bush, passed this in 2003, if I remember correctly. There's an amount for each application, Sandra, that is earmarked for affordable housing on that planning application. I'm not too sure if people know that. Has that been done to date? No, it hasn't been done to date. And we're talking millions of dollars. So from a range, it's around 15 to 20,000 per condominium, not per condominium as an entire building, per condo in the condominium. That's just 7 Mile Beach and Cayman Kite. This has been since 2003 that those amounts should have been earmarked for affordable housing for Caymanians. That's not been done to date. That's going into the general coffers. So are we, like how you mentioned the lady with regards to the fire, Sandra, we got to be responsible citizens too. It is incumbent upon us to hold our MPs responsible. It is incumbent upon us to know the laws, the regulations, and to know what we're entitled to. It's incumbent upon us to demand more from this country as long as we're putting in the effort. So were people aware of this? Probably not. Now we are aware of it. What do we do? What do we do? So now you have hundreds of Caymanians that are looking homes, can't afford it. But if the monies had went into the housing coffers, we would have been in a much better position. Not perfect, but we would have been in a much better position. So those are the hard questions, and those are. But yes, I would absolutely support given concessions, but only if that's applied to Caymanian homeowner for first time owners. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do I also encourage the fact that stamp duty should be waived for the first 2 homes? Absolutely. I support that also. Do I encourage the fact that stamp duty should be raised for foreign investors? Yes, I support that also. I support that also.
All right. So Curtis says, Bracker in the house. Big shout out to people in Cayman Brack and Little Cayman as well. We're all one people. He says, I don't get involved in Grand Cayman politics because I'm a Bracker. But I think this lady needs a chance to represent you all. You can get involved. It's all right, Curtis. We don't mind sharing Grand Cayman with you.
And that's a man. That's a man. So that's commendable because Sandra, as you know, this is my 3rd time. And it is important that we women support each other. It is important that we women understand that we too can do the job, if not even better. We have to understand that. We have to understand that we're capable. We have to understand.
For sure.
It is now time. The tide is changing. And
once you get the right women in, because
absolutely,
wearing a skirt, that alone doesn't make you capable.
Absolutely. And
because you see what's in there now that we got a problem with.
And I think you're perfect right. You know, let's not lose focus of the small things that's impacting this country. We have major issues to deal with. So when certain people get on Facebook and nitpick on stuff, don't lose sight of that. Stay focused to the issues. Stay focused to somebody that can lead. Stay focused that, and I'm not going to have all the answers, Sandra. I'm not going to have all the solutions. I will not have all the answers. But Sandra, I promise that I will always be accessible. I promise that I will always fight for Caymanians, no matter of their background, ethnicity. It doesn't matter to me. I'm always going to fight for my Caymanians. I'm always going to try to enrich, even if it's one person's life. I'm going to do that, Sandra. And it's important that women have a seat at the table because there's so many issues. Our voice needs to be heard. We have much to offer. We have a lot to offer. And you know that as a woman. You know that as a mother.
Let's be honest, we make up over 50% of the population. So we should have a voice at the table. I mean, it's really simple, but it's shocking that here we are with still only 3 female representatives in the Legislative Assembly. You know?
Yes, but that goes to how society, how we were raised, right? And it goes to, we always have faith for some reason in the male counterparts versus that of the female. But the tide is shifting, and I'm really happy to have your support, Curtis. I appreciate that. And I can honestly say we had a women's empowerment brunch yesterday, and it's something that obviously I spearheaded, and it's my baby. And I did it to fundraise money for ALS. And it was thousands of dollars that were raised. But what I took away from that, Sandra, and no, this was not a political stunt. So please don't think like that. It was actually from last year. It's just that it got pushed back because of COVID. But Sandra, what I took away from that more than anything is that we as a society, especially women, we're hurting. We're hurting. And everybody is going through issues, every single one of us. But what I took away also is that if we could be each other's champions, if we could support one another, if we could be there for one another, anything is possible, Sandra, anything. And I'm just asking for a fair chance. It is my 3rd time. I'm asking for a fair chance because I want to give back. I know I wouldn't be the woman that I am today or my family if I didn't have, the support and the love and the contribution that this country has given me. I wouldn't be that individual. And so I just want to give that back. I don't care about MP statuses and salaries. That's not my concern. My concern is how can I better enrich Caymanians? And that's genuinely my passion. It's something that obviously it took a long time for me to decide, Sandra, because elections can be quite exhausting. They're very cumbersome. They're exhausting. They're draining, and so on and so forth. And people just think that, oh, you want it for power and you want it for money. It's not about that for me. It really isn't. I genuinely just want to help people.
We have a question that's coming in, Pearlina, on WhatsApp. So someone wants to know what are 3 specific things Pearlina will do for Georgetown West if she's elected.
Sure. Thanks for that question. I think in walking around and canvassing Georgetown, we're going on our 3rd round this time, Sandra. Three things. There are a few, probably more than three actually. Establish a district council. It's important because I think if I'm not accessible, somebody else on my behalf should be accessible to deal with the community issues. So that's number one. Number two, Sandra, believe it or not, probably not just in Georgetown West, but throughout Cayman, there are a number of elderly that's not insured. So I have to seek about getting them full coverage. It's imperative because we have so many elderly that are actually staying home, keeping sick and not actually going to the doctor just because they can't afford it. Sandra, flooding is also an issue in Georgetown West. So to address that, do we need more drains? Probably so. But in addition to that, Sandra, in knocking on every single door in Georgetown West, the number one concern is that their MP is not visible, accessible, or not lending an ear. And so I promise that I will always, always be on the ground as much as I possibly can. If not, call my mother or, someone that is in my entire makeup and have contact them and definitely try to reach me as best as possible. But accessibility is extremely important to me. Keeping on the ground is extremely important to me. The insurance for the elderly is definitely important to me. And I think a small educational center is also required from Georgetown West. Sandra, even though my mom can't read or write, at the end of the day, we knew the importance of education. We knew the importance of education, and it's incumbent upon us to have the resources accessible to these individuals to make them better human beings, to make them interested in education, to empower them, to motivate them, and to inspire them. So that's more than three things, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Lacey had asked the question, but she said you've already answered it.
Yeah.
So Louis from Detroit says strong women is not just a female. She's a Proverbs 31 women that even if her children become kings and queens, they will honor her all the days of their life because of her character and integrity. Thank you, Louis, for some wise words there. Miss Lena says, go get them, Pearlina. Cecil says Caymanians have not benefited from the so-called progress that this island has experienced. It is so sad. No local bartenders, no local servers, and the list goes on and on.
And I want to say,
very interesting.
That's a very, very good point. I know we're over our time, Sandra, but I do want to say with regards to bartenders, do we need to start thinking about a certain category that's designated for Caymanians only? I think that it was a discussion that was had. I'm not too sure what has been materialized with it, but that's another thing when it comes to, as we know, more than 30% of our youth is not employed. So do we have to start thinking about categorizing certain categories of various industries just for Caymanians? That's something that we need to consider also. Yeah. That's
if Caymanians want them, because there's also that issue.
And Sandra, one thing I can appreciate about you is your truthfulness. And at the end of the day, I'm only going to be a vessel. The people have to want the help, and they have to demand the help and also work for the help. That's the difference. Yeah.
Yes. What a mess.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. Quoting an Auditor General's report, $1 billion unaccounted for. That should tell us where the money for housing went, morning all.
Yeah.
Barbara says, all the best to you. God is with you. Stay strong.
Thank you, Barbara.
Patience says, I believe that Pearlina will generally bring a great change. Watching from the UK. All right, Pearlina, thank you so much. This was your first time on the show. Hopefully it was relatively painless.
It was. I'm really motivated and I'm encouraged because I had a young woman that actually looked at me the other day and said, are these things irreversible, Miss Pearlina? And so I plead to everybody and I implore everybody to don't lose hope. Don't. Your vote is going to be counted. And in order for us we want change, but in order for us to get the change, we have to be that change. So I really implore everybody, go out there on April the 14th, vote, vote, vote. It is extremely important because we're at a crossroads. We need change, Sandra. And please, whatever district you're in, hold your MPs accountable. And if they're not going to do the job and the task that they have been paid for, fire them. It's just that simple to me. All right, but it was good
Yep.
talking to you, Sandra. I appreciate
Absolutely. Patience says she wants you to do this again soon. She enjoyed having you on.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll try for sure.
All right, Pearlina, have a beautiful day. It looks like it's a little bit rainy out there today.
It does, yeah. And thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
We're
And to your
grateful for the
viewers,
showers
day
as
and
much
have a
as
good
we are for the sunshine. So,
Yeah. And to your viewers and listeners, have a good week.
Okay, my dear. Thank you so
Thanks
much
for your time. Okay, take care.
All right, love.
Okay, bye.
All right, folks. So that was Pearlina McGaw Lumsden. She is running in Georgetown West. Go and check out your candidates, folks. Don't forget that you can go on our website, the website that is actually working this morning at kmandecides.com. And you can see all the list of candidates. And I do want to share with you guys. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to bring this up. All of the candidates listed by district. We're going to put this up here shortly as well. And get to know your candidates, get to hear exactly who they are and what their positions are and where they stand on different things. You need to have people who can represent you, folks, who can actually speak in a meaningful manner. Let me see what's going on here. And, it starts, I think, with being able to have the ideas, first of all, communicate those ideas, convey it in a meaningful way to your constituents or potential constituents, and then take it from there. So Lena says, you did awesome, Pearlina. Cece says, amen. We have to be the change, we the people. Lena says, vote, 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 vote. And that's the thing. You've got to get out there and vote. You cannot sit back and continue to complain about a lack of solutions if you are not involved in the process. So Kathy Ann Wilkes is here this morning, says Pearlina for Georgetown West. Judy Faye, Pearlina's sister, says she's so proud of her. Patience says, I hope Caymanians not just talk, but so the thing. All right, Rose says wishing her all the best. Christina is also wishing her all the best. And folks, again, there's the website, kmandecides.com. I'll scroll it on the screen here shortly. Al is here for it. Good morning, Al. Al says, give women majority power. We should have a better world. Well, indeed, there seems to be a lot of evidence to prove that where women are in leadership roles, a lot of things are rocking and happening, folks. Women are running organizations extremely well. They're running countries. New Zealand is but one example. They're running countries extremely well. They are in charge of lots of profit organizations, governments, and so on. And so we need to start respecting women more in this community. Women are not just the homemakers that are going to stay home and raise your children, although that is part of the process, and that's part of raising the future leaders of tomorrow. So I do want to remind all of you good folks that you can call into the program at any time and let your voice be heard. I love your written comments, but you can call in, so don't forget that, huh?
Filters allowed, real information, no filters allowed. Judge number one is showing the island today. Galilee truth, no filters allowed. Real information, no filters allowed. Judge number one is showing the island today.
All right, folks. So no filters allowed. We won't allow it. Come and have your say. That's how the process works. Miss Amelia says, what is so sad is when things don't go the MP's way, she gets so defensive and determined to have her way, not the people's way, then wants nothing to do with you. If it isn't a bubblehead for them, you are not liked. If you're not a bubblehead for them, you're not liked. And I think we know what a bubblehead is, right? Yeah, bubblehead. Yes, person. All right. So Miss Amelia is obviously speaking about Barbara Connolly, and Miss Amelia would know, because Miss Amelia was involved in the Smith Barcadier protest. And as a result of her involvement, that very same day, she got removed from the community group, the WhatsApp community group. She got removed by Barbara. And here's the irony of it. Miss Amelia was the one who actually created the group. And then Barbara became an administrator and turned around and removed her because she didn't like the fact that she was protesting at Smith Barcadier. What a hot mess. My tea done get cold now. I need some more hot tea, folks, because we're bringing it hot to you this morning. So there's a bit of back and forth with Linda Ferguson who I think is Miss Macfield's daughter, about the debris and something about building material. Listen, the bottom line is, Linda, no one is trying to throw you or your mother under the bus, but regardless of whether it was building material or not, the homeowner has a responsibility, I should say, both legally and just as part of this community, to ensure that you get whatever help that you need to clean that sort of mess up. So if that's been there since December, we are now in March. If it was there before December, because I don't know how long it's been there, there is no excuse. Mr. Alric reached out to some, agencies to try to get help. Trying to throw him under the bus during an election time to make it look as though this is going to help Barbara doesn't actually help Barbara. It only asks more questions. And now it's only highlighted you and your family when you should not have been in the highlight. Here's what I'm going to say to you folks. Again, read my lips. The Barbara Streisand effect. Stop bringing unwanted attention to yourself, especially in the world of social media, if you don't really want it. Red flags, as Cindy said in her show on Saturday. If you didn't want all these people talking about your mama and her yard and her business, you should have said, sir, turn the camera off. We're not going to be part of this. Okay? The people are here, the firemen are here to do their job, to put the fire out. Let them do that, and then we'll handle the situation with the debris. Is Barbara out there cleaning up the debris this morning, by the way? Who's going to remove the debris? Is it going to continue to stay there? That's all I want to know right now. When you highlight something, you don't get to control the conversation, the direction of the conversation. People are going to have their opinion. So yes, there are going to be people who are questioning, why does your yard look like that? It doesn't matter if it's building debris or whatever. People are going to start talking because now it's been highlighted as though it's a national security issue. It's really not that big of a deal to get this resolved and to get it fixed. Barbara is a sitting MP. She has the resources of the PPM. What resources does Alric have at his disposal? Taking money out of his own pocket for some ungrateful people who can then talk about, he just trying to buy votes? Which, by the way, if he did that right now, he could potentially be pulled up like, oh, no, you're not supposed to spend money on this because this does look like vote buying. Your sitting MP can do it. The progressives can do it. Tell them to go out there and clean it up. It's raining today. Perfect day to get it done. You got showers on your head. Frank Macfield. Good morning, Dr. Frank.
This morning. Fired up?
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me
well,
properly?
You're looking fresh and young today.
Well, I'm trying to look young because, there are a lot of things that you miss not young in this world.
Yes. Well, Frank, congratulations. You've decided to throw your hat back in the ring this time around as well. And you're also in Georgetown, but you are in Georgetown East.
Georgetown East, correct.
Yes. All right. So
yes,
we're going to speak to Frank.
And I went there because I got a lot of people from Randike, the Randike area, the Randike community there, asking me to run in that area because they weren't getting proper representation. They had no access to their representative. And they have all kinds of challenges, especially, I guess, since the COVID and everything. And they have a strata organization there. They have to pay strata fees. There are repairs that they need to do to their buildings because some of the buildings were defective when they were constructed. And, they have general issues that most people in our society that are of the lower income have. And we are the people that are being bypassed continuously by the legislators and also by those persons with money that are doing the development. So I decided to go back in the race like I've always run. I always run because I like to get my points out and I like to remain consistent with regards to the types of issues I saw that would be important in the Cayman Islands society the type of issues that would alienate us or isolate us from the benefits of development and trap us or entrap us in really the evils of the development, or the bad products of the development, the bad parts of the development or consequences of the development. It's really funny that we live in a society that fails generally to look holistically at development and at the consequences or effects of the development. And as a sociologist, I've been trying to teach people or to preach to people over a very long period of time that at the end of the day, if we do not educate our people, because education is the key, and if we did not educate our people sufficiently, that we would be at the back of the bus. I was fired from my first job in 1979 for saying that early childhood education is the key. They wanted to build a middle school, and I said, the bridge needs to be between the family and the primary, not between the primary and the high school. It is important for us to understand that our society was based upon a failed plantation system. And that failed plantation system not only had economic consequences, it had social and psychological and cultural consequences as well. One of the most important consequences is the denial of the African identity and the influence of African culture in the early formalization or formation of the Caymanian society. The fact that color and race plays such an important role in our society, but yet it is not discussed, is not good. It has negative consequences. We have children who don't know who they are. So they identify with ghetto music, with wearing their pants below their backside, with doing these types of things. And we fail to understand, why are they behaving this way? Why are they behaving as if they're prisoners when we live in a so-called prosperous society, a Christian society, a society of positive values, yet the only values that the children seem to, when I say the children, I don't mean all the children, but a particular class of youth identify with are these negative results of the sort of traumatic effects of the plantation system on our people that we don't want to recognize. When Pearlina speaks about her family, when I speak about my family, when I write my plays, I am not ashamed to bring up the violence, the domestic violence and the trauma, which has continued to work in our society to the point where we have so many people today that are suffering from mental challenges, from social challenges, while people come and bury them in wealth, but shares nothing with them because our government does not believe that people who have should share with people who don't have by paying into the system to keep it alive. We can only pay in proportion to what we make. We cannot expect people who are earning $6 an hour to support the social system, to support the educational system, to support the medical system. We have to come to realize what society is and therefore how it should be managed for the benefit of the majority of people in the society.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Frank. So the 3 top issues that you were campaigning on this election season, please.
Well, I'm campaigning really on a $10 minimum wage.
Okay.
I'm campaigning on housing. I'm campaigning on education, the recognition of the importance of culture in the educational system. We have disconnected our culture from our educational system. And this is a problem because nobody seems to realize this. We got all kinds of products, cultural products. Look at my plays. I've been writing since 1979. You don't find anything from me in the educational system. You don't find anything from Steve McField in the educational system. You don't find anything from Roy Borden or other writers, Wendell Hyde, the artists. You don't find anything that we have done in our educational system, yet we have been exploring the relationship between culture and education. When I came back in 1977, I got involved with just Jeff Cresswell, Maureen Cresswell, Bendel Hydes, Anita Ebanks, and creating what became the Cultural Foundation. We started with the National Youth Theater, and we had many people involved. Teresa Lewis, to mention one, involved with the National Youth Theater. We went on to create the In Theater, to create the Cayman National Theater, which became the Cayman Cultural Foundation. All these things people forget. They forget about what I've done and what others have done to create the institutions that are now managed by foreigners that are brought in here to benefit from our sacrifice and dedication to improving the arts and to improving communication and self-esteem and self-worth through cultural exploration. It is only when we know who we are and can accept who we are that we are strong and that we're persistent and that we can contribute and that we don't just gossiping and bringing people down. We are lifting people up through elevating them to deify their own culture. We have so many things in this island that are being buried, but they're valuable, sharing and caring. That's the reason why I got involved in housing, to try to do something about affordable houses. The reason why I got involved in a union. There is a reason why I got involved and struggling to tell Caymanians that unless we understood what education means, we would never be able to be successful. Education is not just about elevating a few people to become part of the corporate world. It is not about just lawyers and accountants. It's about mechanics. It's about people who can maintain families, strong families, middle-class families, lower middle-class families. It has to be holistic. If we're going to protect our physical environment, what about our human capital? What about our human environment? Who is talking about that? Who's petitioning about that? Who's concerned about that? People are only concerned about the issues that are brought in from abroad. That bigs everybody up, and they want to talk about that because then they get the approval of the dominant society. But what about those people like myself that are on the bottom, regardless of education or not? My education, my PhD, that I did as field research. I started gang research from 1972 in Notting Hill Gate in London. I have done this. I was a chairman of the Committee on Social Breakdown and Youth Violence that was commissioned by Edna Moyle. I implemented as Minister of Social Children and Family Services and Community Services and Sports and Youth many programs when they destroyed them. There are all kinds of reports. They don't understand them. I decentralized children and family services with a satellite office in West Bay, one in Bardstown, and then the main office in Georgetown. They dismantled it. I created the National Housing and Community Development Trust. Community Development Trust. They took off the Community Development Trust and left the people out there with all the responsibilities to go back to the bank, to pay the interest, to struggle, to forsake their children in order to pay mortgages, to own something. Our approach was holistic. The fact that people continue to reject the ways of social conflict and social problems is responsible for what we are experiencing today, where people can come in and take the lowest job and make profit from it. But even when we get a well-paying job, we cannot profit from it because we are not being taught and led in a way that would cause us to be able to appreciate what the accumulation of capital means, how we work together. Because when we really look at it, the greatest enemy to the Caymanian is the Caymanian. We're like the crabs for true in the barrel. We're always tearing each other down. None of us can agree with the other one. Oh, look at him. Look at her. They think they're better than me.
Yeah, I know the ridiculousness of it.
Their mama or their granny. And so what we're saying is that all of us in this election need to take a serious look at ourselves and ask ourselves the question, who's going to solve the problem? We or the MLA? The MLA is not going to solve nobody's problem. We have to become activated, energized. You energize people. You energize people to think, to reflect, to contemplate, to decide that making decisions is not about making one decision and being steadfast with it, but making a progression of decisions that are leading to a positive goal and a positive realization of one's self-worth and one's position in a society that causes one to say, you know what, I have more to give than to take. I prefer to give than to receive. Those types of revelations, those types of positions are essential for people. The political rhetoric that I'm hearing, it's all about this one is this and this one did this and how we're going to punch this one rather than how we're going to build up anything. The whole idea of independent candidacy is crazy. All these individuals out there promising all these things when they know that no one vote in parliament can do anything. Why are we promising these individual things? I would promise to look into things. But
since
at the end of the day, that we have our political system has unraveled, just like everything else, that none of us can have a majority. We need to get back to the point where we can be in agreement. The majority can be in agreement on something for 4 years. Can't we not agree on anything?
Dr. Frank?
I mean, this is sad because
since you've mentioned the inability of a single MP to get anything done on their own, we have to ask you the same question that we've asked everybody else who's come into the program. So the progressive government has been working extremely hard to try to put what they're calling an alliance team together. The question remains the same. They come to you, Dr. Frank. You're the man that's going to break or make it for them, right? And they say to you, Frank, we have Makiva Bush. We've recruited Alva Saku. We've got this one, that one, and the next one. So we just need you to complete the team. Makiva is going to get Speaker of the House again. Where do you stand on this? And if you were a current MP, so it's going to be a two-part question. Where do you stand on the formation of a government in those circumstances? And the second question is what has presently transpired. If you were a sitting MP, would you have voted in agreement with a vote of no confidence against Mr. Bush?
I hear that, and I take offense to the question because I paid for this program. And if somebody else has an agenda, they need to pay for their agenda. But I will answer the question. But I don't think it should be the question because I heard it asked to Pearlina. Now, I don't have to get involved with nobody, riff-raffs, and what they do. Because I, Frank McField, stand alone in most of my battles. I make my decisions and I pay for them. I make my mistakes and I pay for them. If other people make their mistakes, they're going to pay for their mistakes too. But from the point of making me, when I am talking about the unraveling of our society, and if Makiva Bush is suffering from the post-traumatic slave syndrome, like many other people who are prone to violence in this society, then those people who have created conditions for violent people to exist in our society need to be called out. They need to come and apologize for slavery. They need to come and apologize for the after effect of the violent behavior towards Black people that we are experiencing in this society today, not just Makiva, the gangs, the people who beat up on each other, the people who shoot each other. We have a whole heap of people that are doing things that would not be considered to be morally right. But those people who are so morally correct, where are they in coming and giving us answers to our problems? I have worked with the youth, I told you, from 1972. I know what violence is because I'm a communicative researcher. I don't ask them questions. I listen to their behavior. I act their behavior. I follow it. I analyze it. And I know that the biggest problem we have is a psychological one. No, McKeever could be suffering from the psychological traumas also and be denying them. But at the end of the day, a lot of us, in terms of our manhood, we are mistaken about what manhood and womanhood is because we've had the wrong type of role models. And in the schools, we're not being challenged. In the schools, when you have 37 fights in one bloody day, ask them what they're going to do about the school system. Ask them how they're going to create this. Now, they're in political fights, so they're asking political questions. I am not exactly a politician. I'm a sociologist. I'm a philosopher. I'm a believer. I believe that everybody should be given equal opportunity to be able to repent for what they do and to be repaired for what the damage people have done to them. But when you cannot have a conversation in this country about slavery, when you cannot have a conversation in this country about discrimination against people of color, when even the people of color don't want that conversation, there is something definitely wrong and stifling about the society. So if we have a situation where a leader of government like McKeever Bush is in the position, I don't have to protect him because at the end of the day, he not done nothing for me. If anything, he threw me under the bus. If anything, he destroyed the United Democratic Party that I got punished for helping create because I had to go against Kirk Tibbetts in Georgetown, and people punished me for that. McKeever has done nothing. Okay, he might say Alden should have given me a job, but he could give Graham a job driving him up and down and pay him, what, $5,000 a month. But I, as a sociologist, couldn't get one scrap, even when Kenneth Bryan begged Alden in front of the people in Scranton to give me a job working with the youth because he felt I was qualified and I'm dedicated to be able to do so. So I care about what happened to McKeever politically. I ain't care about it. So my answer, though, is that I don't think that even if he wasn't an MLA, that he should have been in that type of situation. But I was not there to judge how it came about. I know my culture well enough to know that somebody put their hand on me, I'm gonna probably put their hand back on them too. I'm a Mike Field, so I'm not gonna come and lie about me because I'm not trying to be no bourgeois person to please no liberals. I know who I am, and I know that liberalism has not been kind to my people, because if it had been kind to my people, the educational system would not be in the mess that it's in today, because it's liberalism that begun to deteriorate the learning abilities and the learning success possibilities for West Indian kids that I studied already in London in 1972. And that same liberalism was brought here. Throw the strap out of school, throw the Bible out of school, throw all of the means that we were using before, and bring in this whole liberal concept towards education in a plantation, a former plantation society, where the whip and coercion was the rule. I don't think it was a sound decision. Now, nobody has to agree with me about this, but I'm not talking as a politician. I'm talking as a sociologist. But we need a doctor in the house. We need a sociologist in the house, because I don't want to live behind bars. I don't want to have to protect myself with a gun in my house because of house invasion. I don't want the violence to come to me, but the violence is in the society. And I said it many years ago, and people denied it because they didn't want the tourists to know. They didn't want the investors to know that, because they might be a little bit more hesitant in investing in the country. So we buried our problems, and now our problems face us in the face. Focus on Mr. Bush, the speaker, if you want to, but you better focus on what's going on in the roads with the gunman, what's going on, the corruption in the police force, and what's going on when we have to pay $75,000 per year for one prisoner, and we got 187 at Northwood now, and 14 at Fairbanks, and we got an Englishman back in the position of director when I had put locals in the position before I left, because I took responsibility for prison, and I did what I could do to put the rehabilitative apparatus in there that will work. Now, people don't want to talk politics with a sociologist. People don't want to bring to the people the reality. People just want to talk about this one character and the other one character, and who's with who and what's what, and who have money to pay this and who have money to do that. And the types of MLAs that I see coming forward, they have no passion. They have shown no passion, no empathy. They have a little education, they have a degree, they have a Mercedes, they have this, they have that. They can buy what Dr. Frank McField can't buy. But I am running in East Georgetown because people came with tears in their eyes because of the flooding, because of the other things, because there's things people will not pay attention to. Now, Mike Taggart is the man who also signed to have the injunction on the road there at the Linford Pearson Highway that creates so much traffic each morning, each evening for people. And that's the man that they've chosen to be the next premier of this island, the next leader of this island. He needs to go take that injunction off so that I can get my stepson to school in the morning and my wife can get to work. Okay, and I can get back to my research and my writing. People need to be held accountable for their selfish interests. And we have to stop this thing. And we have to realize that we can only build and maintain a community that is good if we at least have the approach of sharing and caring, which is something about Cayman that was very special to me. The reason why I came back when I could have gone back to New York or stayed in London or stayed in Germany. My son is graduating from a German high school gymnasium in April. He's taking an exam. Josh is taking an exam this morning. I didn't have to come back here. But all I came back here for was insults. Well, he think he better than me. And who he think he is? And look at who your mama is. And they died, and this and that. So when I hear Pearlina talking, I know where she come from. I have a lot of empathy with her because I know what Meldine had to go through. I know Meldine so well. I know that woman struggled, and people at least in those days had some empathy. Say, oh, that's Meldine. She got some children, and she worked hard to support her children by trying to get the community to cooperate and help with the rearing of the children. And those days, we were all involved with helping with the rearing of our children, and we never forgot about our old people either. We didn't forget about them because they weren't educated like us, and they didn't think like us, and they would talk a different language. We kept the bridge. We didn't destroy the bridge. And now today, when the young people are trying to make politics, they want to ignore me. They don't want nothing to do with me because Dr. Frank, you had your chance to go home. No, you need the experience. You need somebody who's been through the fire. You need people with passion. You need people who's going to say what's right, even if people think it's wrong. And so back to the question of what happened. I don't think that McKeever should continue to be Speaker of the House. I don't think that Roy McTaggart and his relationship to McKeever Bush and that coalition should be rewarded by being elected to Georgetown East. I think that should tarn him. I think the liberals should say no to McTaggart, no to McTaggart, not just to McKeever. The thing has spread on all of them. But like I said, my concern is with the oppression of our people, with the alienation of our people from land. Land is going to cost so much. People talk about me, and I remember you saying, Sandra, that I should have stayed with the labor union. I did what I could do. Ask Romelia, ask Doreen Welcome. We fought, those women fought, just like her daughters are fighter. They fight. They're not fighting and get no money. They're not fighting and get no reward. They were fighting with bare hands and fists to protect the gratuity of the poor Black Caymanian women that were working at the hotels, because there's discrimination in the hotels. We used to work in the hotels before, clean the floor, make the beds, do all those things, watch Time Longer Than Rope Again. Ella, the servant woman, Black woman who worked in the hotel. And now today, people want to say that Caymanians don't want to do this, Caymanians don't want to do that. It's because we're disrespected. We're not even given the thanks before. Even if we weren't given the money, the people would relate to us. We felt they loved us, and we had no problem working for them. But today, we're showing that we are not acceptable to most people because they can bring their servant from any place they want. world, and the government allows it.
Dr. Frank,
So I don't
thank
think
you.
that my being a candidate.
Uh-huh.
You're welcome. Did we have time already?
Yes, sir. You've actually gone over, but that's okay. We don't watch the clock too closely here, but we do want to thank you very, very much for coming on the program this morning. I think there's a lot of people agreeing with the points that you're making, and lots of people Darlene says I have to agree to a certain degree with Dr. Frank. There's so many more serious issues that we have. I don't condone violence, but I have been a victim myself. But the truth is we need help for our young people. Well, we're also setting examples for young people when we allow them to see leaders do certain things and no one is willing to address it. But Dr. Frank, thank you so much for joining the program this morning. We really do appreciate it. Do you want to give people your contact details so that if they're in your constituency, they can reach? Oh.
Yeah, well,
there we go.
I would appreciate that, Sandy. 96967.
Just repeat that one more time for me. You break up just a little bit there.
At gmail.com, and I will be putting out some. Yeah, 939-6967 is my telephone number, and my Gmail address is drfrankmcfield@gmail.com. And I will be putting up some posters probably tomorrow if the rain kind of stops, and I will be putting out that information as well. And I am trying to get geared up for a campaign to give Roy McTaggart, who is going to be in the coalition with McKeever Bush, a good run for it. And so at the end of the day, Sandy, it is to my advantage to be able to be that McKeever should be condemned, because in condemning him, I'm also condemning them. So as a politician, of course, yes, but also as a person, I think it was for it to have been like that in public. I think that was definitely too much and out of hand, and there should be reprisals, or there should be a punishment for that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Dr. Frank. Hopefully we'll speak to you again very soon.
You definitely will, and thank you.
Okay, love. Have a good day. All right, Frank. So that's all right, Frank. All right, folks. So that is Dr. Frank Macfield. You guys can check him out. He's provided his email address, his contact details. I see some of your comments that's coming in. Linda Ferguson continues to talk about her mom's house and that situation there. Girl, we ain't got no more time for you this morning, is all I can tell you. Just go and get it cleaned up. It's an easy fix. I don't know why you're trying to put all the blame on Alric. Yes, she even said in one comment that I was one who started the fire. Girl, honey, there are people in this life who blame everybody else for their problems, but the man in the mirror. Do we need to play that song for you this morning? Start with the man in the mirror, okay? I'm about to go clean up my kitchen. My yard is fine, but I got 2 dishes in the kitchen. My CMR mug, I got to wash this after the show. And I got my water mug, which I'm about to put in the sink because I ain't been drinking my water this morning. I need to clean that up too. Need to wash that up. Accountability. Hold yourself accountable first and foremost. Clean it up. Yes. Oh, Sandra brings a little bit of truth to Linda Ferguson, who wants to be defending Barbara. Ay. Listen, we're in the middle of election season, folks. These are the only issues. Thank you, Mark, honey. Thank you. I appreciate it. These are the only issues that we can be discussing is Al Ferguson's mama yard. Georgetown South got some serious issues that need to be cleaned up. Now, I don't want you guys to log off because I have an exclusive video for you here this morning, especially since the website is having issues. After I get off the show, I'm calling those web people and I'm giving them a piece of my mind. Because this next one is hot. A lot of you want to talk about Alva Saku. We're going to see if Alva's going to be able to come on tomorrow's show. But last week, I'm just some of you are working and you're tuning in and out of the program, but I want to make sure that my news group in particular gets the memo that they need to log on right now to get this source, because believe me when I tell you, this is the only place you're going to see this video and the only place that you're going to start asking yourself some tough questions. Last week, Friday. Was it Friday? Yes, it was Friday. Someone gave me a call, honey child. And they said, listen, this one's so hot, I'm going to have to drink cold tea. Okay. The tea's still nice, even though it's cold. They said to me, Sandy, girl, you need to get down in Prospect. And I said, what? What's going on in Prospect? They said, well, for the last couple days, Alden has been having his fence worked on. So we while we here wasting time talking about Linda and her yard, we need to talk about this hot mess. Alden has been having his personal fence worked on by the NRA employees. And I'm thinking to myself, hold on a second now. See how this is tied into this discussion this morning? Al Ray Ferguson and her mama, Miss Smackfield, can't get their yard cleaned up by DEH. Okay? But Alden can get a fence, not a yard cleanup that's a fire hazard, a rat hazard, a roach hazard, and all the other hazards that come with debris. He can get a nice, pretty green fence put up. Now, I know you people think I'm lying on this man. And I would have no reason to lie on him. Trust me. In fact, let me tell you, I said, okay, let me go to this site because I know it's in the middle of silly season. And, there are people who will send you information that you have to make sure you verify and you question and you ask and, So I said, all right, let me go and see what's really going on. So by the time I got there, the NRA vehicles had left, but apparently they were there for several days putting up this new fence on the back end of the Premier's property. However, I was able to obtain footage showing that the cement was literally still wet from where they were just there completing the latter half of the fence. So I'm thinking to myself, how does this work exactly? Let me show you what I got, and then we can talk about it a little bit more. See that? I think I'm going to have to play it a second time. So what we have is NRA staff going and installing a fence. And I don't know how this works because in my opinion, the NRA are not supposed to be doing anything but official government business. NRA, National Roads Authority. Why would they be doing anything with a private fence? And folks, the pouring of the concrete, as you can see in my little video, was legit real. The concrete was still wet. You know what I should have done? I should have put my name in it. You know, as kids, how anytime somebody would pour a new sidewalk, you'd put your name on it? Or you'd be like, Sanda loves Linda Ferguson. Linda Ferguson. That's what we could have put in the little, the wetness. That's what I should have done. I should put my name on it. But anyway, they don't want to deface or vandalize the man's property. So the concrete was still wet. We have the photo, folks, of the NRA vehicles there. The only thing I'm sad about is the person waited to tell me. So by the time I got there, they were already gone. But they captured the video for me. They captured a photo. And then I took the video showing clearly that the fence work had just been done. So can anybody explain this to me? How does this work? Why would the NRA have been doing the work on the fence, installing the fence of the Premier? I don't understand that. Somebody care to fill me in on how this works? Did they bill him for this job? And then he paid them? I'm just confused. And these are the same departments that when Linda calls, or no, she didn't even call him. When Alric calls on behalf of Linda's family to clean up debris in a yard, which that's a public hazard. Now it's created a fire, right? That wasted resources. Firemen were out. Smoke installation. UCCI had to been shut down. Look at how this little not keeping your yard clean goes into a fire that has smoke bellowing all over the place like the garbage dump. This was almost another Mount Trashmore. I guess they can blame Alwick for Mount Trashmore too the next time that catches fire, right? That he should have done something with that. So imagine, folks, that shuts down UCCI. It shuts down surrounding businesses. And at the end of the day, DEH says, well, we can't come out and do anything about it. We don't do that anymore. That's outside the scope of what we do. Okay. But NRA can put up a fence for the Premier, and that's not outside the scope of their responsibility? Shouldn't he have hired a private company to put up his fence? I'm just asking. I don't have the answers, but I would like to know. How does this work? I'm a little bit dumbfounded here. Anybody has any ideas? Let me pull up the picture here because I want to make sure that you guys see clearly the NRA vehicles that were on site and on location. Now, I don't know if we can zoom in to get plate numbers, but I'm assuming the NRA would actually have a log of where the men were and who was working off of Logwood Drive. You think they have that information? Well, let me just see here. Where is that photo now? Ugh, these photos are always so tricky. Yeah, here we go. Here we are, good people. Here we are. All right, so see it right there? That's the fence. And those are the NRA vehicles. And they actually had a cement mixer pouring the cement to install and put in the fence as well. Wow. So poor Linda can't get the yard cleaned by DEH because nope, that's not what we do anymore. However, the Premier uses the National Roads Authority to put up a fence for his private residence. Lord, I can't make this stuff up, The road over from that is actually being paved. Yep. Because what we hear now is that the paving company is out there doing $1 million repaving job all over the Cayman Islands, but there's certain roads that obviously get preference. So we saw a couple of weeks ago, the main highway in East End, part of that is getting paved because he's trying to get East End votes now for his alliance government. We see areas of Prospect and Red Bay all of a sudden getting paved. In fact, there's some roads that are being paved that don't even need paving. You know what I'm saying? There are other roads that need paving more than these. They're full of potholes. Windsor Park. Windsor Park getting paved? Cece? Noel? Linda? Have they started in Windsor Park yet? I guess if they haven't started, they soon come because they think Windsor Park need a lot of help voting for the incumbent. So they'll be paving all up in your yard. They'll pave right over the garbage. I mean, this is what you call some hot tea right here this morning. Like I said, my poor little tea gone cold, but this is still hot. Cindy said it best, folks, on Saturday. Now, her show was comical. It was full of entertainment, but Cindy spoke a lot of truth, and she made a lot of sense. And as she said, red flag, red flag, red flag. There's a lot of red flags when I see this video. And I have a lot of questions for the NRA. So I'm going to be reaching out to them, asking some of those questions, and I hope I can get a good answer. So Vanessa says it took her 6 years to get her fence in. Child, I can't afford a fence. I'm too busy making sure I pay for debris to be removed. Yep. What a hot mess. Folks, nothing in Tropical Gardens? Girl, Sharon, you better get on them. Tell them. It's going to be a beautiful rainy day today. I want you guys to be safe on the roadways because you know Cayman people, and I don't mean Caymanians, Cayman people, everybody in this island seems to be very, very accident prone, and you can barely drive when it's sunshiny, much less when it rains. So by all means, please take your time on the roadways. National Roads Authority, what are they doing with a fence though? Aren't they responsible for just the roads? National Roads Authority Cayman. Let me just see what their remit says on their website. CaymanRoads.com. So, yes, transportation systems, roads, blah, blah, blah. So they're working on Godfrey Nixon Extension, East-West Arterial, Hearst Road to Woodland Drive. We're looking forward to that one, Shell. East-West enhancements, new pedestrian crosswalks. So they're all about roads, roads, roads. What do they have to do with the fence at the Premier's house? That one has me dumbfounded. Daniela, they need to be audited and everything made 100% public, followed by the appropriate charges laid against these individuals. We'd like to see that happen. They're not paving no road in Windsor Park. Water Authority tearing it up now. Again? Woo! Cece says, I heard Johan Moxman Star this morning about people getting $6,000 hard cash. All I want to know is who's handing out this kind of money because I need Cece. Good people. I don't know anything about that, but this is what I do know happened last week. And by the way, in case you didn't notice in the video, you can actually see where the trees in his yard, were actually cut as well. Guess who did that? The NRA. Yeah, child, they're into tree cutting. I need to talk to them. I got some pruning around the place that I need done. NRA, call me. I will talk to you. I see you. Call me. We can talk. I got some pruning. Rosa says that Justin Ebanks still coming on. Unfortunately, Justin is a full-time working person. And so because the show is pushed back, he's going to be joining us possibly tomorrow. Now, on tomorrow's program, we have invited Mr. Mr. Alva Saku. And child, all I can tell you guys is the situation around Alva is the talk of the town at the moment. It is swirling and whirling and twirling and hot, hot, hot. So if Alva comes on tomorrow, all of us are trying to understand his decision over the weekend to side with the progressives and part of this alliance. It's called the Alliance of Progressives and Independents, which is such a confusing title. It even had me confused, but whatever. It's going to be another unity government by just another name is what they're hoping for. Wow, folks. Actually, is Wayne Panton on tomorrow? I don't know if we can have Wayne Panton and Alva Saku in the same show. It might be too hot. The airwaves might actually burn up. Lord, can we handle it? I think we can handle it. We can handle a lot here. Folks, you've been listening to another segment of The Cold Hard Truth. Keep it locked. We'll be back tomorrow. Check out the video section on our Facebook page. I'm going to go call these people to get the website sorted out. So we got a lot of tea for you. There is just so much happening right now. Big shout out to Chad, folks. Let's take a book out of Chad's. Let's take a page out of Chad's book. Stop majoring in the pettiness. Stop worrying about the words that someone used to describe a meeting. Stop trying to blame people for your yard mess. Clean it up. We will come there, El Linda, and help you clean it up if you really need the help. I'm all about community, honey. Clean it up. Let's just get it done. Chad said it right.
And I want my vote and to do something about the discrimination that Caymanians face on a day-to-day basis within the workforce, and to do something about the bullying within the schools. Then you can talk to me. You do something about the unemployed people of my community. And I'm not talking about after COVID, I'm talking about before it, because it's been going on for years. We vote you guys in and you guys go up there and you argue about nothing and make no changes. I'm tired of it, man. It's 2021. I can barely afford groceries, light, water, and I'm paying somebody else's mortgage. You wanna know why? Because I can't even afford a house. I got my mother and my father asking me why I don't have a house. Your Cayman is no longer for Caymanians. And it hurts my heart to say that. That Cayman is no longer for us. What children have?
Tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.